desires. The podium is open.
On the sad, city has already set a precedence. They had a vested interest in paving Hallett for Three Meadows development. Nobody paid a sad on that road. Nobody. Fayette Street. Nobody paid sad on Fayette Street. And I'm not picking on Dr. Morrissey because I like him, he's a friend of mine, but he lives on Fayette Street, didn't pay a dime. That street benefits Hillsdale College more than it does anybody. They use it to come in 99 right to the college. No sad. I just, those were the two first roads that were done when we were imposed the millage for the streets. Those were the very two first streets the city did when that millage was passed, when those street millages were passed. I mean, maybe it's a coincidence, but it sure benefits the city. And I was up here before and talked about this, David. That's the first thing you guys did when you passed the millages for our roads is you paved right down Hallett Street from Reading Avenue right to your development. I find that unfair to the public that are having to pay these assessments. I've been fortunate it hasn't hit my road yet, but you guys are taking advantage of the tax dollars here. Now you want to do 99. Are we being lied to on that, can I ask? Because it seems awful funny that you want to do downtown. How many other buildings are on pillars like the Kiefer is? We changed this whole damn downtown right here because of that building years ago. Every time a big truck could go down the road, the pillars in the basement would move that building. I know, because I know people that work for Dr. Horton and they told me. He had 3 architectural engineers look at that building and $3-4 million just to fix the pillars in the basement. That's why Tifa had this whole road changed. I don't know if you were here then, David. I don't think you were. But now we're thinking about changing over here. Are these buildings on pillars? Or are we just being lied to? Is that why you want to slow traffic down? I'd like to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, CJ Concrete. I had to come running up here because you guys sounded like you were going to vote on Barry when in the paperwork and what was discussed at the last meeting was that it wasn't going to be voted on because we were going to wait to hear from Kim and talk about what, how the special assessments were going to affect individuals, which I think would have a lot to do with people agreeing, depending on what those numbers are and depending on that cap, if it gets changed, which I think is a fabulous idea across the board for everybody. For those that had special assessments before, I was one of them. And the last thing I want to do is change what you already did, because I understand when you have to change policy, some people are going to feel like they got the short end of the stick, but in all reality, we're never going to grow as a community and we're never going to improve this city and the way we run things if we don't change some policies. So unfortunately, those of us that were affected from the special assessments before, and it's done. It's already a done deal. So I'm not complaining about the fact that I already had to pay $5,000. But I would be more than happy, and I would love Barry to be done. It would be nice to know what I would have to pay ahead of time, before I get hit with, oh, by the way, you're surprised, you have $5,000. So if you want citizens to jump on board on this, and no one likes the special assessments, not at all. But we have to get these roads fixed. And you guys, most of you guys on this council were not here making those bad decisions that put us in this position. So I don't envy where you're sitting. But we have to make some changes. Josh, I absolutely love the ideas, because every time I can tell that what you're trying to do is make it better for the citizens and still make those improvements. So I appreciate that. And again, I'll say the same thing as I said last time. I love the fact that you guys are up here discussing these things, because this is the only place we can hear it. So, although 10:30 last time was a little bit much. And then the reason the businesses, in my opinion, and I know I've had this conversation with you, Josh, is that I think it's very unfair to the residents that live on a road where there's a lot of traffic because of churches or schools or whatever, that they're gonna get the same price as a business. Of course, the people that have more, that cause more traffic on that road should be accountable for more. I would expect that in a business, because you need those roads to be in good shape for your business and for your clients. As far as the sewer work, Dave,
Thank you.
thank you.
Hello again. I just have some bullet points. So, this is what I'm hearing. In order to make it safe for bike lanes, they have to close off some of the roads. So that's what I heard. On the vacating of Cook Street, if they vacate Cook Street, then they want to spend $8,000 to put a road in, a driveway, so people could get into Cook Street, which is kind of like special interest groups. So we're gonna pay $8,000 so the churches can park. So that doesn't seem very fair. I think Cook Street should just stay open. Number 3, according to MDOT, when I listened to that meeting, he said they cannot reduce the speed limit on 99. He said they could increase, but if you listen to him, he said they cannot reduce the speed limit. So maybe people going into certain lanes maybe reduce it, but they're not going to reduce it. The idea of, oh, no one's gonna ever use the back lane, so what's the big deal anyway, is what I heard. And number 5, this is a question. I've heard that Tifa really doesn't have any money, because I asked about some of the buildings out here, why the front faces of them are looking so bad. If you just walk out, you can look at the faces of those buildings. And I thought Tifa money was supposed to help the local businesses uplift their buildings. So my question is, does Tifa actually have money to help with this road? Is there money in the account?
Tiffin does not have any money. They will start having money next year, I believe. Is that correct, Councilman Suchel?
But
Yes.
will they have enough to pay what they said they're going to pay? How does Tifa get money?
How does Tifa get money? They get money from taxes from the buildings downtown. What's the cap, 1980?
83, I believe.
What 1983, any tax increase after 1983, that money goes to Tifa. So Tifa's for property owners in downtown Tifa district.
Okay, so does the college, since they own that building on the corner, are they part of Tifa? Do they give money into Tifa?
Their property tax, yes, they do.
But the college doesn't pay property tax.
That's true.
So the college buildings downtown aren't gonna contribute to Tifa, exactly?
Well, they're not paying property tax. It comes from the property tax from 1983 up.
Okay, but right now they don't have any money.
Well, it's coming, because you're right, we don't. And one of the reasons why the building's front foundation or the frontages, they have to apply for an application. And Tifa usually for roofs and building finishes, it's a 50-50 split. Tifa will cover 50% of it.
But if Tifa doesn't have any money, why
Right, we
apply?
don't have any money.
But so why apply? I wouldn't apply for something that there's no money.
It's coming.
They are
Right.
very close to paying off their debt obligations.
Okay.
Andrew Gelser is very knowledgeable and willing to give you all the specifics. I believe it's about the end of this year, all of the debt will be gone. And TIF is gonna take in over $100,000
Yeah, I don't know what the numbers are.
per year. Yeah, it's quite significant. You can also find the Tifa district online. It extends from Barry on the south side of the city to Monroe on the north, and then, I think West and St. Joe's.
West Street is into it.
Okay, oh, okay.
Hello, Jeff Fazekas. I would like to just make a comment regarding one of the council members' comment about how we're unruly and obnoxious when it comes to people. And I think one of the problems, Bob Flynn made a great suggestion, I think, especially with SADS. We should have a 5-year, 10-year plan so people can plan. To get a message on November 1st, for example, congratulations, you owe $5,000, is not something that people want. And then you pass it through saying, well, there's gonna be changes. They'll have an opportunity to make changes to this. And then just as we saw today with the road diet, from Alan speaking, there is no change that can be made because we set it in motion a council ago. So if you don't understand the frustration, I'm sorry. But what I see is a waste of money continually on a day-to-day basis by putting these things in place, not listening to the constituents, and then wondering why we're upset. We're not upset with you. We're not upset with city staff. We're upset with the process that's being used. And I think what Bob had mentioned would be a good thing to do. Allow people to plan, to be able to have an idea of what's going on, instead of saying, surprise, you know, I now owe $5,000. In my case, as I told you last time I was here, I got the surprise $39,000 for sidewalks. There was no negotiation. There was no anything else. Just you either pay it or we put it on your taxes. So that's the frustration as a citizen. And we're not necessarily upset with you individually or city staff. I think city staff does a great job. But you guys direct them. And that's the frustration, is like we saw with the road diet. You had to submit this stuff before, really knowing what was going on, told that you could make adjustments, and then today we're told there's no adjustments, there's no fixing, either I cancel it or we keep going. That's not what we were told months ago. We were told there was going to be some adjustment. It's not going to happen. For the Berry folks, again, what am I paying? $5,000? $1,000? $10,000? You don't know. So there's frustration when you're being attacked on a financial situation where we're in a community that's a lot of fixed income people, and it's just not right. And that's the frustration. So it's just irritating me to hear that, because again, we're trying to work together as a community and have dialogue, yet we're not allowed to have any dialogue. Just vote yes or no and let the people suffer. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more public comment?
Ready? Alright. I know myself and many others were disappointed to see the motion to kill the road diet earlier this evening voted down. And it seems to me that people speeding down in 99 has been a justification for pushing the road diet in terms of slowing traffic down and creating more congestion to keep people from speeding. I would push or recommend to the council that they use resources they already have available to them, such as the police, if speeding is indeed a problem that is trying to be addressed. Perhaps encourage them to actually ticket people that are speeding and breaking that law. Would be a good deterrent. The fact that people feel that they can go over the speed limit on a regular basis without any repercussion is indicative to me of a lack of poor enforcement by the police officers on that particular stretch of road. And once again, I'd like to reiterate that the sunk cost fallacy that has been talked about this evening, just because we've already spent a bunch of money and time into researching the potential projects that we have not yet decided, we don't even know if we're going to get approved for, is not a good argument for continuing to move forward to that. Just because we spend a bunch of money, we might as well do it anyway. Don't believe any of the gentlemen on the council would do that in their own personal life with their finances, and so I don't see a reason to do that with the city's finances. And increasing congestion on M99 to deal with people driving too fast is not the answer. and quite frankly, the lack of willingness by members of this council to hear the voice of the people in their opposition to this road diet has me concerned that they perhaps have lost sight of or respect for the principles upon which our republic is founded. I would urge the council members to remember their duty to serve their constituency and not to be a technocracy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thomas Thompson, 11694 Concord Road, Jonesville, Michigan. And I'm gonna take the attorney hat off for a second and put my member of the public hat on here. And I hate to keep you, but I did wanna, and this isn't advocating for a position one way or the other with respect to the road diet, because I don't think that's proper for me to do. But I do wanna add in a couple facts. As somebody who owns 3 properties right on M99 begin at the corner of South Street, you know where the Johnny T sign is? I own that place on the corner, I own the one next to it, and then where our office is right next to that. And one of the things that Councilman Soha referenced is the speed there. And I can address 2 things. One, with respect to why the improvements or the idea of the traffic diet makes sense going all the way down Steenberg Road, from my experience, and also some of the things that are practical problems with this little stretch that comes down here going the direction it is between City Hall and the post office. So I come from Jonesville to come to work in the morning, and what I used to like to do, because it's a little bit easier way to get to my office, is I would come out at Hillsdale Street here, go past the college, drive down, and I'd come out to Carlton Road. Where you come out to Carlton Road where Hillsdale Towing is, if you're gonna make a left turn onto Carlton, which is what I would do, and then go up to St. Joe Street, and then up South Street to get into my office that way. One of the issues you run into if you're gonna make a left turn, because of the 4 lanes here on Carlton, and the proximity of the traffic light to where the traffic comes out between City Hall and the post office, people will come and they wanna go straight across to go into Hillsdale Street. Most of them do not understand that they have the right of way. If you're waiting to make a left turn across the 2 lanes of traffic coming down, heading out of town toward the traffic light, it is difficult to watch that, be able to make a left-hand turn when they're continuously, as soon as one car crosses, another one will pop out down here heading that way. Again, they want to go straight on to Hillsdale Street heading toward the college. It is really challenging to make a left turn there, because you'll have, by the time you wait for this person to figure out they're supposed to go straight while they're sitting there trying to wave you across, and sure as you go, then they go. You have traffic speeding off this traffic light. As soon as it turns green, come flying down these 2 lanes. One of the things making this one way the other way would eliminate that entirely. You wouldn't have any problems with anybody trying to make a turn, a left turn out of there, having to wait for traffic coming down this way. And anyone that's going straight only has to worry about just making sure traffic from the 2 ways is clear so they can come up the opposite direction in between the City Hall and the post office. And as for the area where my offices and my properties are, I'll tell you about that later on. So, but that has to do with accidents at my intersection constantly, multiple times a year, and traffic with bikes on the sidewalks instead of on the street, so.
Thank you.
Is it working? No. Cool. Good evening. I just want to make a brief comment. And don't take it the wrong way or personally. I know very few of you outside of the council chamber, but I just want to make a comment as a recent arrival to Hillsdale. In the less than a year that I've lived here, my knowledge of the city council has frankly boiled down to being told stories of mismanagement, personal infighting, things that border on incompetence. And I don't mean that as an insult, but these are the stories that new arrivals are met with when they're told what their local government is. And as a young man who's trying to start a family and put down roots and live in a place where I can feel at home and that my local government cares about me and my interests and my needs, these stories don't make me want to live in Hillsdale. They make me want to move out to the township or Litchfield or somewhere else. And I wasn't able to be here for the early part of the meeting, but it's the same thing over and over that I hear from people. And it seems like it's the same story on every issue and everything that comes up, from the bikes to the SADs to everything. And I don't know what needs to happen to fix that, but I don't think the same old should keep happening. And that's just my perspective as a resident of the town trying to live a good life. It doesn't make me feel safe and secure and at home and taken care of when it's the same laundry list of complaints that I hear coming out of this council chamber. I guess that concludes my sermon, but it's not a good feeling to have at night when I'm laying down to bed, and especially not when I'm opening up my tax bill for the first time and seeing the money that I'm spending in relation to the stories that I hear. That's all. Thank you very much for the good work that you do, but frankly, I encourage you to do better on a lot of the things that I've been made aware of. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more public comment?
Very short comment, but just for the one-way road that they're trying to switch the direction of, I just want to say that's a road I really appreciate, and I like using it the way that it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more public comment? Okay. Oh, we didn't get names. Sorry, Katie. Tell Katie your name if you want it in the public record. Okay, city manager's report. Manager Mackey.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. First thing I want to mention is starting Sunday, March 30th, the BPU will begin flushing hydrants. Typically, crews flush from 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. That's on a Sunday, so they'll start at 8 a.m. and flush through the evening. They try to miss the work week. There will be continuous work on that though, because that usually takes about a week. But that will start March 30th. Also wanted to report that the Mayor Pro Tem and a number of the council members went on a tour with myself and the Sewer and Water Superintendent, Jeff Geyer, where we toured the wastewater treatment facility and the water treatment facility and looked at the wells. I hope that was very productive for all of you to gather some good information about the systems we maintain at the city. Also wanted to report that Mayor Pro Tem has reached out to Jake Hamill, the electric superintendent, and we're going to look at scheduling a meeting probably towards the end of April for an electric tour or generation facilities, and there are different things. So we'll be looking at getting a couple dates out in the near future for that. The grand opening for Aldi this past Thursday was tremendous. I think, and Bob could add to this. They were very excited with the turnout. I think there were at least a couple hundred people in line, and they actually got there, some of them at midnight, the night of, and they had just a tremendous turnout, and they were very excited based on the manager and the staff that came from corporate Aldi to see the community's excitement for the store. The one thing I did want to mention, on the road diet, it was mentioned by Mr. Fazekas that it can't be changed. I think in Alan's letter, he said there's one more public meeting that will come out after we've probably after we find if we're proceeding in the grant application. And so things can still be changed, just the lion's share of it is kind of set the structure, but there are tweaks that can be made. And we will have one more public meeting on which to address that. And I can address Joe's question about the pillars and some of the downtown businesses. To the best of my knowledge, that has nothing to do with slowing down the traffic. It's more for pedestrian safety, to promote the downtown business districts, to help kind of more beautify the downtown than anything, not for something of that nature. Though I do recognize they had to, on the Kiefer, they had to really rebuild that whole structure, and that's why it's taken them a longer time, is the steel and the beams that they had to put in there because of the building itself. And the last thing I just want to mention is the airport and the search for an airport manager. There have been a few folks who have reached out, that some with more experience than others related to the airport. I am talking to a gentleman that's extremely aviation experienced, and he's been associated with the airport in the past, and I think we'll have a good candidate to take over running the airport. So I suspect that I'll be able to report on that at the next meeting. That's all I have, Mayor Pro Tem, if there are any questions.
Thank you. Any questions, comments on any of that? Very good. Thank you, Mr. Mackey. Okay, council comment. I have signed 2 letters of support for Comcast and DMCI, for the BEAD program, Broadband Equity Access Distribution. Basically, they're gonna bring broadband, and they need letters of support, I think from all of the municipalities in the jurisdiction. Anything to add on that, Councilman Soha, since you are familiar?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Yeah, so the way that my high office, which is the Michigan High-Speed Internet Office, has determined the rules as they made these 1.6 octagonal, they partition the state in all these octagons, and if you hit one, if your build provides internet for one house within the octagon, then you have to provide for all of them. And if an octagon is in multiple municipalities, then you need support from every municipality. So for DMCI's perspective, we're not actually going to be servicing a house within the city of Hillsdale, but one of our octagons hits the park at Bobby's, and there are some houses in it, but they're already served, so they're not part of this program. So it's just another one of those I's to dot and T's to cross. So thank you.
Okay, great. Well, we wish Comcast and DMCI best of luck on that. Any council comments? Councilman Flynn.
First, just to follow up on what Dave said about the Aldi store, I did talk to several people out there that I knew, some that I didn't know, and the overall feeling was that they were very happy that Aldi was in Hillsdale. And again, not taking anything away from shopping locally and shopping in a small town and family stores and things like that, but the overwhelming thing that I heard that made me smile was that I can now shop at Aldi, I can now shop at Kroger, I can now shop at Meijer. They're staying here. They're not going to Jackson, they're not going to Coldwater, they're not going to Adrian. They're staying here. And this is another opportunity for them to stay here. With the rumor, we'll call it that, since the city hasn't officially done anything with Kentucky Fried Chicken yet, even though they've gone through the county, that's another reason for people to stay here. And it's comforting to see and comforting to know that people are staying here, spending their money here, spending their time here. That's not a bad thing, that's a very good thing for our city, which then eventually increases that tax base, which eventually increases people moving closer or moving actually here, where we might be able to someday eliminate special assessment districts because our tax base has risen to the point where we now have some extra money. So that was very good. And the people in the front of the line, I kid you not, that were there at midnight were here from Flint. Why they came all the way from Flint, I didn't ask. But they came to Hillsdale from Flint to shop in Hillsdale. So if we've got people coming from outside of Hillsdale to shop in Hillsdale, that's even better. Secondly, real quick, I do want to say thank you very much to Ginger Moore for the outstanding work that she's done out of the airport. I'm sorry to see her go under any circumstance. I think that she did a phenomenal job in not only maintaining and running our airport, but for promoting our airport, bringing in millions of dollars of grant money that would have been spent elsewhere here in Hillsdale, which has brought in businesses to our county, brought in workers to our county, and brought in money to our county as well. So I really want to take this time to publicly thank Ginger for her hard work and dedication. And I also want to congratulate Katie. Katie Price, our city clerk, last week completed, and I'm going to get this wrong, so I apologize, but she completed her final step over a 4 or 5 year period of becoming a certified city clerk and here in the state of Michigan. And she's done an outstanding job over all of those years since she's been here, but it's good to see that she has been certified now and completed all of that. So Katie, congratulations.
Thank you, Councilman Flynn. Congratulations. Council comment? Anything else? Councilman Wolfram.
Yes, I think at the last meeting I had suggested that perhaps that the city staff could draft some language where we could amend how we do this SADS, where we again would provide people with how much it will be. The city would provide an estimate or get an estimate from the city staff, then that language would be available so that people could look and say, okay, yes, it's going to be $3,200 or it's going to be $2,900 rather than, well, it's going to be $5,000 maybe down to who knows what. And so I might look at it and say, well, gee, I don't want to pay $5,000, but I might be willing to pay $3,800. And if that turns out to be the amount that's needed, then that would be much the better. So maybe we could, and as was pointed out, I think as you pointed out, and I pointed out last time, is that we amend statutes, all the time at the state level. I was deputy state treasurer, and we used to amend the statutes quite a bit. And you don't go out and change everything when you amend the statute, right? When circumstances change, you just say, okay, circumstance change. And so it's not like if it turns out that Berry Street or whatever has to pay $3,200 and I had to pay $5,000. I was under the old law, and so I would like to at least have an opportunity to look at some draft language. So maybe if city staff would just put together a little draft language for me, I'd appreciate that.
Thank you, Councilman Wolfram. I believe KFC is more than a rumor. The site plan is being proposed on Wednesday to the Planning Commission. Is that correct? Yes. Yeah, and Meyer, Aldi, and KFC look like they're going to bring in $200,000. Meyer was 130 by itself, I think, if I got that correctly. It's massive amounts of money, so that means probably Aldi will be at least 20. But we shall see. Councilman Suchel.
Yeah, I was curious, can we write a letter from council for Ginger for gratitude, or
yes.
something that she could hang on a wall? I mean, she's like Bob just said, the amount of work she's done it's immense. I mean, it's amazing what she's done, and it's just so sad to have to see her leave. But if we could come up with a letter, that would be.
Thank you, Councilman Suchel. I appreciate it. Any other council comment? Councilman Soha.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So, with Ginger's resignation, I've been thinking about this a lot. The city has always been challenged financially over the years. These special assessments, the financial situation we're in is not any of our fault. It just is what it is right now, and it's something that we have to address and fund. And it requires money. And unfortunately, the way that our system is designed right now is we tax ourselves to raise the funds, and that's the way it is. And we have voted a tax upon ourselves overwhelmingly in November with the 800 megahertz and the other two renewals, which is a significant burden. And we did that with the 2.5 mils or the 3.5 mils for the roads recently and everything. And because we see these things as being necessary to the improvement of our city. To the gentleman who came and spoke last, welcome to Hillsdale. I'm sorry you're hearing all these things about us. We're trying our best to serve the citizens of the city well, and to listen to them, even though some of you feel that's not true. At least I do listen, and I know I believe I can speak for my peers here that they do the same. Our infrastructure is in dire straits, and it has been for decades. And it's going to require us as a community to come together and find a way to pay for it. And the way that council did before Councilman Morrissey was here. Were you on council, Greg, when you voted for the SATs to start? So there's two of us that were here when we voted for the SATs, but this is the way we've decided as council to move forward. And we're addressing it, we're making amendments to it, we're having good discussion here because we're trying to find a way. Councilman Morrissey and myself, we decided to donate $5,000 of our own money to the city in solidarity. I believe Councilman Morrissey's already paid his off. I have not. I'm doing it on an annual basis, but I made that commitment, and I don't know if I'll be assessed with the road diet thing or not, whatever. If I am, if that comes before council, I will vote for it. We have to find money. We don't have the same financial resources as some of our neighbors have, like Marshall, to the tune of, we're about 65% of Marshall's budget. Is that about right? 70%, whatever it is. They have 12 million, we have 7. That's a significant amount of change in an annual budget, right? And so what I would just encourage us to do is if we want to choose to live in the city of Hillsdale and see it maintained and be a beautiful place to raise our children's children, then let's instead of, I don't know, I don't want to spend your money, right? I despise property taxes. I hate the fact that I'll never own my house, right? Because even if I pay off my mortgage, if I don't pay my property taxes, the city will foreclose in 3 years. And then somebody's gonna get a beautiful home for unpaid property taxes. So these are things though that we have to do, right? What's that one statement, death and taxes, right? If there's another way to fund the city, maybe, the college started an endowment. What if we endowed the city $250 million somehow, right? Then that's at 5%, that's $12.5 million a year. Then we can vote to rescind all the taxes. I don't know, find a way. But right now, the way that we have decided as council, and we just supported it a month ago, is through these SADs, and as terrible as they are necessary so that we can maintain the city's integrity of its, I want Berry Street. If 3 of those people rescind it and it gets below 50%, I'm a yes vote. I'll just say that right now. If only 14 people had written the letter and not the 50% threshold, I'd have been a yes vote. So I do listen to the people. Broad Street's a completely different thing in my opinion, because it's been developed for the last 12 years, and what happened a couple weeks ago or a month ago isn't just the first time the public's been made aware of that. So I think people finally became aware of it, and now they're voicing their opinions, but that's another story. And I just wanted to thank Ginger Moore publicly for the work that she did at the airport. I think she made tremendous inroads and has made it a magnificent facility, and I think it benefits the city in ways that are immeasurable to the average, to my mind at least. Thanks for giving me the microphone.
Thank you, Councilman Soha. Any further council comment?
Nobody adjourned. Second.
Motion to adjourn from Councilman Morrissey, seconded by Councilman Soha. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. The meeting is adjourned.